Part 84. The Brave Life of a Space Peasant Girl. Author, Lan Department. Chapter 831. Chapter 831, Overestimating One's Own Capabilities. It was also Emperor Nanhua's good luck. Qi Tian stopped after refining 2/3 of his soul. It turns out that the death of Emperor Nanhua and Emperor Xin Chen was unjust, especially because Emperor Nanhua's hatred was very heavy, and Qi Tian's own killings were very heavy. If the soul of Emperor Nanhua was forcibly swallowed and refined, the powerful hatred would be the intention would affect his soul, so 1/3 of his soul survived. Qi Tian was not a good person to begin with, so how could he make it easier for Emperor Nanhua, so he simply imprisoned him so that he could neither live nor die. Hearing this, Emperor Xin Chen breathed a sigh of relief knowing that Emperor Nanhua was not dead. He stretched out his hand in front of Qi Tian, "Then give me his soul." There is soul power on the disciple's soul mountain, which can help him recover quickly. When he recovers, he can talk. Qi Tian actually did not want to give the Emperor Xin Chen a favor. Once the Emperor Nanhua recovered, he would definitely seek revenge from him. He is an evil god, so scared. Then Nanhua can't keep up with his cultivation even if he tries to flatter him. So he waved his hand and gave the remaining 1/3 of Emperor Nanhua's soul to Emperor Xin Chen. When Emperor Xin Chen saw the remaining soul, he was furious and asked Qi Tian, "Why is it like this? Didn't you inherit his inheritance? You are also his disciple. Why do you treat him like this?" Qi Tian is a person with a good temper. In recent years, he has a good temper because of his relationship with Shui Yan. Don't ignore his original temper. After hearing this, and the angry look on Emperor Xingchen's face, he was also very angry, and immediately said coldly, "Why can't we treat him like this? When he gets better in the future, ask him what happened in the first place, how he treats me. It's true that I have his inheritance, but he can take away my life? No matter how evil I am, I won't attack someone who is kind to me. He is not a beast. Even if he is an evil god, he still has bottom lines and principles when doing things. Those people he killed before, none of them were demons in human skin. The people who were chasing him only knew him, and never checked which of the people he killed should not be killed." Emperor Xin Chen glared at him bitterly, "Then you shouldn't imprison him. Just let his soul recover slowly. Aren't you cutting off his roots?" Qi Tian took a deep breath, wanting to kill this old man with one palm for daring to yell in his territory. He glanced at Shui Yan and said sarcastically, "I don't have such a big stomach. I treated the person who put me to death and gave him a chance to recover. It was only because of my kindness that I didn't let him lose his soul. No wonder these two old immortals were harmed by that person in the first place. Considering the moral character of these two people, ha. Yuan and Suiyan were at war with each other when they saw the two people here, and came over immediately. Kishan, what are you crazy about?" Suiyan pulled him away without ceremony, her almond-shaped eyes widened, praying to the sky to turn off the fire. "What's wrong with yelling at guests in your own home?" And Yuan saw the ball of soul in the hand of Emperor Xin Chen. The ball of soul was so weak that it might disperse even if he breathed. Yuan Lala Star Emperor, "Master, don't get angry, send him in first." Emperor Xin Chen glanced at the soul in his hand, squinted at Qi Tian, nodded, and Yuan Ke received them into the space. After Yuan accepted the Emperor of Stars, she asked Mujukan, who had been sitting there, "Mujukan, what's going on?" The two of them were on one side and didn't notice it at all. Mujukan explained what happened just now. Yuan and Shui Yan Ke looked at Qi Tian, who was still angry. It was Suiyan who pulled Qi Tian to sit down and said warmly, "Why are you angry with an old man? If that old man dares to come and ask for trouble, I will be the first to refuse." Qi Tian was relieved by Shui Yan's comfort. He hugged Shui Yan and returned to the house, leaving Yuan and Mujukan behind. Mujukan spread his hands towards Yuan. Let's enter the space. After Yuan said that, she took Mujukan into the space and came to the Soul Mountain. The Emperor of the Stars all picked the concentrating flower and the soul flower. Seeing Yuan come in, he said hurriedly, "Disciple, quickly refine these medicines." Yuan sat down and did not take out the Xin Chen cauldron to refine the medicinal liquid. Instead, she asked the Xin Chen Emperor, "Master, tell me what kind of person this Emperor Nanhua is. I don't want to save a blind-eye wolf." Just what Mujukan said, the Nanhua Emperor actually wanted to seize his body to pray to heaven. Based on this incident, Yuan concluded that the Nanhua Emperor was not a good person. Since the inheritance has been given to Qi Tian, why do you still want to seize the body? You can just practice on your own. Emperor Xin Chen was stunned when he heard this. He looked at Yuan and the two of them and muttered, "If you don't believe in him, don't you believe in me as a teacher?" Yuan's head is covered with black lines. This master's brain is not working well. Where is this going? Master, the dragon gave birth to 9 sons, and the 9 sons are all different. You are just friends, not brothers, right? Do you believe in him so much? Then I am still your disciple? Don't you believe in him? This, Emperor Xin Chen calmed down after Yuan asked him in return. This space belongs to her disciple. It is not too much for her to ask for safety. He lost his usual calmness after seeing the miserable state of Nanhua University. He sighed, sat in front of Yuan, and then said, "Nanhua is really not a good person. He just had a good relationship with his teacher at the beginning. In this case, I want him to stay on Soul Mountain. Let's take him out after his master's cultivation has recovered." Yuan nodded, "Okay." From the two things she knew, she could tell what kind of person Emperor Nanhua was, but she was worried that Emperor Xin Chen would be implicated if he was always with him. A person who cannot keep his mouth shut may cause some trouble in the future. Seeing that Emperor Xin Chen cared so much about Emperor Nanhua, she could only say kindly, "Master, as long as you feel clear about him, you should return to space in the future. My disciple will be filial to you." Emperor Xin Chen was not stupid. He didn't even want to see Nanhua, his disciple, and his disciple was so worried about him. He was very touched. He nodded, "Master, I understand." "Well, Master, I'd better leave a ray of soul in the space." "I'm afraid that you will be implicated again," Yuan said with a smile. "If you don't lift a pot, it's for the master's meeting." Emperor Xin Chen thought that his disciple was stable, and even teased him. He was really implicated by Nanhua. Even at the end, Nanhua flew towards him. Otherwise, why would he be so seriously injured that both of them lost their bodies? He still tried his best to take him back to their cave. "I didn't expect that this guy actually wanted to seize someone else's house. He probably wanted to recover as soon as possible and take revenge. With the strength of both of them, they couldn't defeat him before. Don't even think about it in the future. He can actually have such an idea. It's overestimating his own abilities." End of this chapter. The Brave Life of a Space Peasant Girl. Author, Lan Department. Chapter 832. Chapter 832 Changes in the Evil God City. After Emperor Xin Chen and Yuan talked for a while, they felt much better, and then they became worried. "Disciple, my master just had an unpleasant quarrel with Qi Tian, will it affect you?" Yuan sighed. She didn't expect that things would turn out unpleasant. If she had known, she would have just asked Qi Tian. Seeing Emperor Xin Chen like this, Yuan felt a little guilty and sad. In the past, Emperor Xin Chen was the same as Qi Tian, standing at the top of the cultivation world, but now he is so humble. Yes, it is humble. However, there is a problem, which is not a bad thing for the Star Emperor. Sooner or later, he will have to leave the space to survive in the Tongxian world, and it is inevitable that he will have an intersection with Qi Tian. Qi Tian's crazy person now has Suiyan suppressing her. Once Suiyan can no longer suppress him, it will be the time for him to let himself go. Between Qi Tian and Emperor Xin Chen, she didn't want anything to happen to Emperor Xin Chen. She is still divided into relatives and friends. So Yuan said, "Master, this is because my disciple didn't think carefully before, so you shouldn't be allowed to face him directly. He is now under the control of Suiyan, so when you meet him in the future, do not conflict with him when you do not have absolute strength. This person is the kind of person who will retaliate for his anger and will kill anyone who disagrees with him. There is no reason to explain. Moreover, he is the most powerful person in the Tongxian world. This time he didn't care about us for Suiyan's sake, and that won't be the case in the future. It wasn't that Yuan was trying to scare Emperor Xin Chen, but that Qi Tian was already such a person, and a person's nature could not be changed no matter what. She had better talk to the Star Emperor to avoid being in his hands in the future. That person is a crazy person. Yuan decided to wait for Suiyan to give birth, then she would return to the Wuxia realm. She should not stay in the Tongxian realm. At least Emperor Nanhua must be sent away from Tongxian realm. That is also a bomb. One day he will definitely incite Emperor Xin Chen to cause trouble. Mujukan saw that Emperor Xin Chen was deep in thought after hearing this. He also said, "Master, Wanner is right. You have not recovered your strength now. Even after you recover, you may not be able to defeat him with your strength. You still can't defeat him. I don't know, in the Tongxian world, the four most powerful people may not be able to defeat him even if they join forces." Mujukan added some embarrassment, saying that he was not worried that the Xin Chen Emperor would offend the new thigh he had just embraced, but that the Xin Chen Emperor was still a little dissatisfied. Even though his attitude just now seemed a little cautious, the glint in his eyes showed that he was not convinced. If they don't convince him today, if he goes out in the future, this guy will definitely find Qi Tian to regain his reputation. With Qi Tian's temper, killing the Star Emperor is not an easy task. It's a pity that Wanner saved him. The waste of natural resources and earthly treasures was not worth it. Emperor Xin Chen looked at Yuan and the two, and he was moved. Yes, the disciples and his wife were right. If their strength is not restored, everything they do will be in vain. He nodded, "I have been in confinement for too long. Don't worry, I will not go out until I recover. Prepare to be in seclusion." Hearing this, the two felt relieved. Emperor Xin Chen took out a jade slip and gave it to Yuan. "Disciple, I need these materials for my master. Please help me collect them when I have time." Yuan took it and put it away and said, "Then I will not disturb the master. I will find what you want as soon as possible." Without looking, Yuan knew what the Star Emperor needed. It must be the materials for refining the star formation, the star sword. Okay, Emperor Xin Chen responded and took the soul of Emperor Nanhua back to his palace and began to retreat. The Star Emperor has stopped here. The two of them left the space and waited for Suiyan to give birth in the city. After that incident, Qi Tian didn't treat Yuan very much, and it almost made me uncomfortable. My displeasure was written on my face. Yuan couldn't help Suiyan sincerely keeping her, otherwise she would have left long ago. They still dislike Qi Tian. Hundreds of years passed by in a flash. On this day, Shui Yan finally activated her power, and with the help of Yuan, she successfully gave birth to a daughter. After staying for a month, Miao Yu took care of Suiyan, and Yuan and Mujukan said goodbye. They returned to Wuxia realm and found a place to move out of Nanhua Emperor. During those years in space, his soul was also stable and he no longer had to stay in Yuan's space. This time, the Star Emperor did not leave the space, but continued to restore his cultivation in the space. There is enough divine power in the space to restore him. After Yuan returned to Wuxia realm, she went to Ziwei continent to replenish some starstones, and also collected things that the Star Emperor needed. They also went to see Fu Rong and Yao Ju. The couple still had no children and were still as coddled as before. With I'm still cultivation to immortal sovereign, it may be difficult to ascend to the god realm. Leaving some things for them, the two of them also went to see the Tiandao sect, which was considered their master at the beginning. The Tiandao sect still has no sect leader, only a deputy sect leader. Now it has developed hugely, and it is like a paradise for the immortals. They have a good custom and strict sect rules. Yu and Wan were filled with emotion after seeing it. It was just a whim at the beginning and they didn't want to inadvertently insert a willow tree into a tree. They both left some things behind and left quietly. As for how the people of Tiandao sect were surprised, they didn't know. The most unexpected thing for Yuan is that Yu Jing, who was abandoned by her in the spirit world, has now ascended to the Baisha god realm, and her cultivation speed is indeed unparalleled. The two returned to the Tiandao sect in the Tianxia divine realm, visited Minqi and returned the position of sect leader to Minqi. They stayed with Tianyan and the others for several more years before returning to the Tongxian realm. Liangbao and the others are still in the Tongxian realm. When the two of them entered the Tongxian realm, they heard explosive news about Qi Tian. Qi Tian has died. The two of them couldn't believe it and immediately came to the evil god city. However, this place was no longer called the evil god city, but called the prison city. The people in the city were all evil gods who did all kinds of evil. It is not Suiyan who is in the city lord's mansion. It is a divine man of the divine emperor realm who was sent by Tongxian realm to pretend to be the lord of the city. Suiyan's mother and daughter are also missing. Yuan was shocked. How long had it passed? How could things and people have changed in just a few hundred years? Yuan simply returned to space and looked for Suiyan through the realm gate, but found their mother and daughter in a small secret realm. Ziwei, it's really you, why did you come here? As soon as Suiyan saw her, she threw herself into her arms and cried loudly. Beside them stood a pretty girl, looking at Yuan doubtfully. Yuan patted Suiyan's back and comforted her softly. After a long time, Suiyan had cried enough, and then she pulled the girl and said to the girl, "Bao call Aunt Wei quickly." The girl bowed and said calmly, "Qi Le has met Aunt Wei." Yuan stretched out her hand to support Qi Le. The child looked almost like Qi Tian. She said, "My good boy, he has grown up." End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Brave Life of a Space Peasant Girl. Author, Lan Department. Chapter 833. Chapter 833 The Death of Qi Tian. Suiyan took Yuan into the palace, and then she told Yuan what had happened in the past few years. It turns out that Suiyan's family of 3 lived happily for more than 100 years after Yuan and the others left. Suddenly one day, a man of the great perfection, the God Emperor, came from outside the evil god city and came to seek revenge on Qi Tian by name. It turned out that the man came back from the battlefield outside the territory. After being promoted to the great perfection of God Emperor, he came back to seek revenge on Qi Tian. At that time, he had just entered the realm of the God Emperor and was very high-spirited. Unfortunately, he had a conflict with Qi Tian. After the two had a fight, the man was seriously injured and then fled to the battlefield outside the territory. Later, the outer battlefield lost contact with the Tongxian realm, and he stayed in the outer battlefield. It was not until he broke through to the great consummation of the God Emperor that he could tear apart space, and then he set foot in the starry sky. He then searched for the Tongxian realm in the starry sky, and his efforts paid off. After searching for hundreds of thousands of years, he finally found the Tongxian realm and came back. As soon as he came back, he came to the evil god city to seek revenge against Qi Tian. Qi Tian didn't even remember this person. People came to him to seek revenge. It was not like he took the initiative to provoke them, so he naturally accepted it. If he didn't pick up others, he would think that the evil city lord was really cowardly. It's just that when they saw that Chi Tian's cultivation level was higher than his, he knew that he would be unable to defeat him and that Chi Tian's men would be defeated. He immediately gave in, but Chi Tian would not let him go. The two later had a big fight, and there was no suspense about the result. The godman was beaten by Chi Tian again. Chi Tian looked at the dying godman and was not prepared to take his life. When he was about to leave, the godman suddenly blew himself up and both of them were in the barrier. As a result, both of them were blown away by the explosion. Suan fainted immediately when she heard the news. It was Chi Li who sent the message to her grandparents. After learning the news, Anju and his wife immediately came to pick up Suan and her daughter. When Chi Tian was alive, he offended too many people. If Suan and her daughter stayed here, they would just wait for those people to come and seek revenge on Suan and her daughter. After returning to Hongmeng Tianzong, Anju and his wife asked their ancestors to choose such a small secret place for their mother and daughter, and the mother and daughter have been living here. As for what the evil god city has become, it was Miao Yu who told Shui Yan. Suan doesn't care about the evil god city. After all, Chi Tian is gone, and even a goddess like her cannot save the evil god city. Ziwei, I'm so sad I didn't cherish him when he was here, and I used all my strength to call him. He died, and I feel so sad. Suan started crying again as she spoke. Yuan had to comfort her again. What could she do if she couldn't bear to leave him now that he was dead? Yuan was also lamenting in her heart. The most powerful being in the Tongxian world died like this. It was really unexpected. What a pity for such a great master. From this incident, we can open our eyes and see clearly that people will not die unless they do something. Before Chi Tian died, did he leave any trace of his soul? Yuan asked. Suan shook her head. He is very conceited. I once told him that if I leave a trace of my soul, I can practice again if there is any accident in the future. But he said that the people in the Tongxian world want to kill him. Not yet born. Haha, it's really crazy. There are people outside the world, and there is a heaven outside the world. As a cultivator, you don't pay attention to it. You deserve it. Just leaving this mother and daughter behind will make life difficult in the future. Yuan had nothing to do. He self-destructed and his soul was destroyed. Even in the underworld, his soul could not be found. It is really not worthwhile for an evil who has done many evil things to die like this when he has stopped doing evil things. Chi Tian's strength should be used on battlefields outside the territory. Yuan sighed again and said, "Don't be too sad. You still have a daughter. Live a good life with your daughter. If you need me, just ask. I can only vent my emotions here with you. Then just letting it out once is enough. Don't be like Miao Yu, she is about to collapse." Suan seemed to understand the meaning of Yuan's words. The corner of her mouth twitched. "Are you annoyed that you dislike me?" "Not now." Shui Yan finally broke through her guard and was made to laugh by Yuan. Yuan curled her lips and smiled. She should let Suan live on earth for a while. In a place with bright lights and feasting, it is easiest to recognize people and forget their worries. This kid Chi Li. Hey. She is even sadder than me. She can't accept the death of her father at all. She used to be cheerful, but she has been like this since then. To be honest, I don't even understand her, and I don't know what she is thinking. As soon as Suan talked about her daughter, she became worried again. How much Chi Tian doted on his daughter, she was jealous at that time. When Chi Tian died, her daughter became like this. Yuan patted her and said, "Take your mother and daughter to Earth to spend some time." Suan nodded. Her daughter had been living in isolation here, and she was afraid that she would become autistic, so she agreed immediately. So Yuan took their mother and daughter to the Earth. It was still the same place as before, and it was still the old woman's house. The old woman is 70 or 80 years old, and her body is still very strong. This is also due to the trace of divine power that Yuan put into her body back then. The old woman saw that it was still them and there was a beautiful girl, so she naturally gave them a place to live. Yuan stayed with their mother and daughter here for 10 years before returning to the Tongxian world. She also misses the two babies. They haven't seen each other for so long, and she doesn't know if the two brats miss them. What big thing happened again? As soon as the two of them entered the Tongxian realm, they heard everyone talking about signing up to go to the battlefield outside the territory. Outside the battlefield, Yuan looked at Mujukan. Let's go and have a look too. It just so happened that he should go to the battlefield outside the territory to practice his cultivation. Okay, let's take a look at Dabeo and the others first. Good. The two of them found two treasures. The two brothers had not seen each other for so long, and their cultivation level exceeded that of Yuan. Yuan covered her face. But I'm very pleased. Father and mother, are you going to the battlefield outside the territory? Dabeo asked. Well, your dad wants to go and have a look. Do you want to go? The two treasures looked at each other and shook their heads. Dabeo said, we won't go for the time being. We are not strong enough. This Tongxian world is very good. Let's practice for a while before going. Okay, then please pay attention to safety. Yuan touched the heads of her two sons. Liangbao was a little embarrassed. They were 200 years younger than Yuan. They were not used to having their heads touched like this by my mother. Yuan rolled her eyes at them, asking her to divert her attention. Mujukan was secretly amused when he saw it, told Liangbao a few words, and went to the registration point with Yuan. There were many people who signed up, and many were rejected. When it was Yuan's turn, the recruiting looked at her and said directly, if you quit, your cultivation is not enough. Are you still signing up? The man asked Mujukan again. Report. Mujukan nodded and motioned for Yuan to come out and wait for him beside him. End of this chapter. The Brave Life of a Space Peasant Girl. Author, Lan Department. Chapter 834. Chapter 834, Extraterritorial Battlefield. It turns out that the teleportation arrays in the outer battlefield and Tongxian realm were built again, and war broke out there again, and all the cultivation circles were sending people there. But people in the past must have a cultivation level above that of a god emperor. Yuana's true realm was naturally wiped out. Mujukan signed up and was sent to the teleportation array, then to the cross-border teleportation array and then to the outer battlefield. People are transferred in waves, and if there are enough people, they will be transferred immediately. Mujukan saw that he had sent someone. He said hello to the people over there and came to Yuan. Waner, I'll go over first. If you want to come over, you can come to me. He paused for a moment and then said, Waner had better be stronger before coming. The monks sent there have the lowest level of cultivation and are also god emperors, which shows that the enemy's strength is not weak. Waner's strength is still a bit low, and he won't be able to take care of her when the battle begins. The sword has no eyes on the battlefield, so it is better to be cautious. Yuan, I know, you go first. As long as you don't hide your breath, I can find you. There was no way to prove that he should go with Mujukan, so she could only let him go first, and then she would go. She will go there first to see what the situation is there, whether to go or stay, and then we will talk about it. Good. Then be careful. Mujukan nodded, hugged her and turned around to leave. Yuan sent Mujukan away before leaving the city and entering the space in a hidden place. Thinking that Mujukan would not go to the battlefield outside the territory so quickly, Yuan practiced some practice in the space. She has not practiced much in the past few years. As her cultivation progresses, her practice becomes slower and slower. She can only practice for a few hours a day, which accumulates over time. There is only an evildoer like Mujukan in the world. Cultivation is like drinking water. No one can compare with him. She had no choice but to practice step by step. After a month outside, Yuan came out of the room and looked at the people outside who were still signing up, which showed that the war was not optimistic. So Yuan entered the space again and asked Xiaoji to look for Mujukan. Xiaoji searched for a long time before he found Mujukan. At this time, he was fighting a group of foreign creatures. Some of these foreign creatures were wood type, some were monsters, and some were strange-looking creatures. That creature looks like a human but not like a human being. It also yells, but no one understands what it screams. This is the first time Yuan has seen such a scene. In the past, she has seen battles between monsters and humans, or battles between immortals and demons, and battles between gods and demons. She has never seen such a creature. Mujukan was able to fight these creatures with ease and was not at a disadvantage. Yuan watched for a long time and noticed that Mujukan carried Nanming Luo in his attack. Those creatures were burned as soon as they came into contact with Nanming Luo and were instantly reduced to nothing. It can be seen that those things are afraid of fire. Seeing that there was no danger on Mujukan's side, Yuan let the gate turn and she looked at the entire battlefield. The battlefield is so big that you can't see the end at a glance. The battlefield is divided into two sides, the enemy and ourselves, with clear lines. On one side are the human monks, and on the other side are those strange creatures. The strength of the two parties can be said to be about equal. Many creatures have died at the hands of human monks, and many human monks have died at the hands of strange creatures. After human monks are killed by those creatures, the souls that can run fast can still survive, but the souls that can't run fast will be sucked into the mouths of those creatures and swallowed up together with their bodies, eating human monks completely as food. And after they devoured it, their strength increased greatly. Yuan frowned as she watched this cruel and intense scene. No wonder the cultivating world sends monks with high cultivation requirements, and those with low cultivation standards will be sent with their lives. In such a battle, her strength had been useless in the past, and she was no match for those creatures. So she paid attention to Mujukan and made a plan in her mind. She didn't have to go to the battlefield. She could also deal with those creatures in space. When she saw a wood-type creature attacking Mujukan, and Mujukan was overwhelmed, her consciousness moved, and the creature was taken into the space by her. Throw it directly in front of the soul tree. The divine soul tree suddenly saw such an aggressive monster. It only looked at it curiously, and immediately wrapped around the monster plant. Without giving the monster plant a chance to attack, it devoured. In the process of devouring it, the demonic plant also made a squeaking sound. Sure enough, it's a demonic plant that has enlightened its wisdom. Yuan witnessed all this. After the divine soul tree devoured the demonic plant, it asked Yuan for it. Yuan thought that she had not given it anything to eat for a long time, so whenever she saw demonic plants attacking the monks, she collected them and threw them to the soul tree. Moreover, Yuan also collected the dead strange creatures on the battlefield and threw them on the black earth. In just a few breaths, the black earth swallowed up those strange creatures. After being swallowed, everything turned into divine power. Yuan was overjoyed. When the Star Emperor, who was in seclusion, saw this scene, he immediately stepped out. He came to Yuan and asked, "Disciple, when did this space become capable of swallowing?" Yuan was surprised and said, "My disciple has discovered that space has this devouring function since he got it." "Master, haven't you seen it before? Isn't this space refined by the Star Emperor?" The Star Emperor shook his head and said thoughtfully, "No, this space should have swallowed something when it fell into the void, so that the space has this devouring function." Emperor Xing Chen was confused when he came in. Only when he saw this devouring function today did he understand that the space had grown like this. This space is completely different from when I followed him. The star space he refined himself is just a space with star power and divine power, and the area is not that large. He was still surprised at that time. In a space like this one, not only is there an additional barrier in the middle, but the area has also expanded so much, and there are also many virgin forests, which were not there before. The Star Emperor estimated that this star ring must have encountered other dimensions in the starry sky, and the two dimensions merged into one, and then became the current space. Oh, Master, what you mean is that your original dimension is different from the current one. The Emperor of Stars nodded, yes, it's completely different. When I used it as a master, it had nothing but the power of stars and divine power, and the level was not so high. This is completely a super-grade artifact. It used to be a top-notch artifact. What does Master's star ring look like? Yuan suddenly thought of something. The original owner got something that looked like a silver bracelet. The Star Emperor stretched out his hand and lightly drew it in the air, and an image appeared. End of this chapter. The Brave Life of a Space Peasant Girl. Author, Lan Department. Chapter 835. Chapter 835 Origin of Space. In the image, there is a very simple ring. How, is this what my disciple got? Yuan shook her head. She also made a slight stroke in the air, and what appeared was the original owner's silver bracelet. This is what the space that my disciple received was like. Yes, at that time this space should have swallowed up the original star space of the master, and the two spaces merged into one, forming another space, which is also a growth space. At this time, Emperor Xing Chen was envious of his disciple's luck, which was beyond words. The chance of this kind of space swallowing up space is very slim, and she got it. It can be said that she is the only one in the world to have this kind of luck. Yuan also understood at this time that it was exactly as she thought. This space was really formed like this. No wonder it was so evil. I don't understand the fusion of the two spaces. If I do, I will teach you. Let this space swallow up some more spaces that have the power of laws. In the future, this space may be able to form a complete world, Star Emperor said again. Yuan's eyes lit up when she heard this. Is this still possible? Of course, not all cultivation worlds are formed by themselves. They are also formed by people. For example, like your space, if you improve the power of the law, you can form a complete cultivation world. From now on, you will be this cultivation world. The main god, the people inside can also directly survive the thunder tribulation and be protected by you. Yuan learned a lot after hearing this. It turns out that her space can really form a complete world of cultivation. She thought that if she really had such an opportunity in the future and encountered such an uninhabited space with the power of laws, she could give it a try. From now on, people from Baisha can completely move into their own space. Anyway, I haven't found a suitable world for cultivation. Previously, she thought about moving all the people from the Baisha realm to the Tongxian realm, but the Tongxian realm will also be exhausted one day. Her own space has a swallowing function and can replenish energy. There is no such thing as depletion, and people who practice in it do not worry about insufficient strength. Even if this universe is exhausted, her space will still be there, and the world of cultivation can be preserved. If she can succeed, her feat will really save the cultivation world. Master, do you know that the energy ball at the center of our universe has been damaged? Yuan suddenly thought of this question again. The Star Emperor looked at her and said, of course I know that. In fact, the purpose of our travels in the starry sky at that time was to find the energy ball in the center of the universe, to see how damaged it was, and to see how to repair it. Everyone knows that if the energy ball is damaged, the energy will be consumed quickly. Once the energy is exhausted, all living things in this universe will be completely extinct. We all have to die. At that time, the various forces in the cultivation world had not decreased much, unlike now when they have been reduced by almost half. Disciple, when you ask this, are you trying to form a cultivation world in your space, and then move all the people in the cultivation world into your space? Yuan took a breath. My disciple has the idea that if my space can save them, I can save you as much as I can. It's not her holy mother, but there is a premonition in the dark, and she has a mission. Otherwise, why, since she got the space, she acts like a savior wherever she goes, saving wherever she goes. Whatever you get, you have to give. There is no free lunch in the world. In short, whether it was what she thought or not, she had to be prepared. Well, I support you as a master. Emperor Xing Chen didn't realize that Yuan was telling a joke or big talk, but this universe will definitely face this day. When that day really comes, maybe his disciple will really save the cultivation world. Everything is possible. Yuan smiled at the Star Emperor and said, "Thank you, Master. I don't have to laugh at my whims." Emperor Xing Chen looked at the space. How could it be? This emperor's disciple has the world in mind. I am happy that you have such a mind and ambition as a teacher. We cultivators don't just practice for the sake of cultivating. Some of you are given responsibilities of this and that by the way of heaven, so you must shoulder such responsibilities. Nothing in this world can be possessed without reason. Yuan agreed with Emperor Xing Chen that cultivators inherently pay attention to the theory of cause and effect. Perhaps she really bears the responsibility of saving the entire cultivation world. If this is the case, then it is a difficult and important task for her to shoulder such a mission, and she has a long way to go. She has to work harder. Yuan continued to stare at the battlefield outside the territory after talking to Emperor Xing Chen for a while. With Yuan's help, the number of human monks who died on the battlefield was decreasing, and some people also discovered a phenomenon. Originally, they could not avoid the fatal blow. When they were screaming in their hearts, the blow suddenly disappeared strangely. They survived. Some people also discovered that the other party's strange-looking creature disappeared out of thin air as soon as it fell down. The monks couldn't find a suitable reason, so they just thought there was a great watching from the side. They became bolder and attacked each other with all their strength. Not long after, the situation on the field changed, and the enemy was gradually retreating. Mujukin had discovered this phenomenon a long time ago. He knew that it must be Yuan who did it. He kept silent and started killing more vigorously. A month later, the opponent retreated from the battlefield, and the monks got some breathing time. Then they retreated to their own camp and quickly recovered their divine power. Yuan then flashed to Mujukin. When Mujukin saw her coming, he held her in his arms and kissed her on the lips. Everything that happened on the battlefield was Yuan's doing, right? Yuan smiled and nodded. Well, how is it? You did a good job, right? Mujukin had a doting look on his face. Well done. These foreign creatures are really perverted. Without your help, countless human monks would have died. They should all be grateful to Yuan. No thanks, I won't expose my space. Yuan told Mujukin the origin of her space. Oh? Is there such a thing? Mujukin frowned. He didn't want Yuan to bear such a responsibility, it was too big. What are you doing with a sad face? It's still early, let's see and do it. Yuan stretched out her hand to stroke his eyebrows and kissed him on the face. Well, I hope I'm overthinking it. Mujukin grabbed her hand and played with it. I'm just imagining it. There's still a long time until that day. What if we all die in the middle? So let's live every day well. Don't think too much. Your mission now is to quickly restore your divine power. Wait a minute and those perverted creatures will come again. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Brave Life of a Space Peasant Girl. Author, Lan Department. Chapter 836. Chapter 836 Whimsical. Mujukin didn't refute what he said. They went from the secular world to the divine world, and everything they went through made him have to take Yuan's words seriously. Since she owns the world gate and this space, everything must be destined. Actually, thinking about it, this is not a bad thing, but something that is extremely beneficial to them. No matter how the universe develops in the future, with Warner's complete space, they don't have to worry about the future. You control the space yourself. Things like this foreign battlefield can be completely avoided in the future. You can go wherever you want with the space. Well, that's actually better. Whether you are a mortal or a cultivator, as long as you are alive, you want to live well and live well, instead of fighting and fighting for fame and wealth every day for a few resources. Thinking that Warner space could evolve into a complete world of cultivation, Mujukin suddenly thought of something, that is, there was a way to quickly form it in the memory of ancestor Suzaku. That is to find monks who practice different attributes. They must be monks who understand the application of laws, and let them draw the laws in Warner space. Then use the devouring ability to keep devouring to expand the space. When the law is perfected, the space will form a complete cultivation world. Thinking of the complete world of cultivation, Mujukin suddenly thought that his demon suppression tower was the complete world of cultivation. It's just a little smaller, but it still has the ability to devour and grow. He was thinking that it would be better to give the demon suppressing tower to Warner. It didn't matter whether he wanted the demon suppressing tower or not. Wouldn't it be more beautiful for Warner to use it? Mujukin's eyes were bright, so he immediately told Yuan his thoughts. After hearing this, Yuan also remembered that Mujukin also had a demon suppressing tower. Yeah, I have forgotten your demon suppressing tower. It was originally an independent world. You can bring the demon suppressing tower to find some things some other time. Come and devour it. Her space cannot be swallowed up. The contract between her space and her soul is a natal artifact, which means that the space will be destroyed when a person dies. Warner, tell me, is it possible to swallow up the space given to you by the demon suppression tower? When Yuan heard this, she couldn't help but laugh. She knocked on Mujukin's head. How is this possible? You are simply whimsical. Your demon suppression tower belongs to an independent world. My space is not even a semi-finished product. How is it possible? It swallowed your demon suppression tower. I was worried that it would be swallowed up by the demon suppression tower. If it was swallowed up by the demon suppression tower, my life would be over. She can really be swallowed. Even after she entered the demon suppression tower countless times, her space was not swallowed up. She has never felt that the demon suppressing tower wants to swallow up space, and her space has no intention of swallowing up the demon suppressing tower. It's all about peaceful coexistence. Mujukin rubbed his head. There is nothing impossible about this. The demon suppression tower and this space are both artificially refined, but we have not found a way. Warner, I really have this idea. The demon suppression tower for me, it doesn't have much effect. It's better to let your space swallow it up and merge it into one. Maybe there will be unexpected results. Of course, it can only be implemented under absolute safety. Your husband cannot take your life. Come on. Yuan thought about what Mujukin said. Let's not talk about swallowing. The demon suppressing tower is Mujukin's amulet. It can save lives in times of danger. It is also a ready-made cultivation world. It is overkill to swallow up the space. Yes, this is absolutely not possible. This can't be done. We'll discuss space matters later. Yuan firmly disagreed. There are many ways for her to evolve in space. In fact, the simplest one is to find another green lotus. Thinking of the green lotus, Yuan regrets that the green lotus in the space does not have lotus seeds. If there are lotus seeds, the space will swallow them up. The entire plant may be able to be upgraded into a complete world of cultivation. There are no lotus seeds, but the others are still there. You can let Space Devour give it a try. Yuan thought of this and immediately took Mujukan into the space and took out the good luck green lotus. Mujukan, do you think that if the space swallows this, can the space be upgraded? Mujukan shook his head, I really don't know about this. Why don't we give it a try? It's just that we are on a battlefield outside the territory now. We can't do it here. We have to go back to the 5-axis realm or the Tongxian realm first. The space upgrade will definitely change the situation. Throw out everyone inside, it would be too dangerous in an unexpected battlefield. Yuan nodded, okay, then will you go back with me or stay on the battlefield outside the territory? Mujukan didn't know if it was okay to follow him, so she had better ask. If it didn't work, it would be bad if someone found out that he was a deserter. Mujukan thought about it and said, then let's go back to the 5-axis realm, just in time to get back the demon suppression tower. At least we have a safer place to stay while your space is upgraded. Yuan nodded and took Mujukan to the Suzaku clan without saying a word. The current patriarch is Zhu Wen, so if he wants to take it away, he must tell him. Zhu Wen certainly has no objection. The demon suppressing tower was originally Mujukan's artifact, and it would be of great use to the clan if it stayed in the clan. However, the demon suppressing tower was Mujukan's private property, and it was placed here out of affection. The two of them collected the demon suppression tower and found a place. The two of them entered the demon suppression tower. Mujukan went to see Zhu Hao in the prison on the bottom floor. Yuan placed the green lotus on the red soil and observed it quietly. Something unexpected happened to Yuan. The green lotus was not swallowed up by space as expected, but suddenly took root in the red earth. As soon as it was plunged into the red earth, the green lotus seemed to be alive. It immediately sprouted roots and absorbed the divine power in the red earth. The divine power from all around the red earth swarmed in. Within half a stick of incense, all the divine power in the red earth was absorbed by the green lotus. The originally strong and incredible divine power was suddenly reduced by half. Then the green lotus of creation stopped absorbing divine power as if it was full, and took root here to survive. Yuan was stunned by the operation of creation Qinglian. She never expected that creation Qinglian could still survive. If she survives and bears lotus seeds in the future, can her space really evolve into a world of cultivation? At this moment, Yuan was inexplicably excited. She really couldn't find anything after running through iron shoes, and it took no effort to get there. Wherever there is a need for this or that, ready-made things are always in her space. When Mujukan came up from the ground floor, Yuan immediately told him the good news. Really, Mujukan was also surprised. Aha! Haha, Waner is really God's favorite. Mujukan had to sigh at Yuan's luck. They were so overwhelmed that they did not expect that the most convenient and rare thing would appear in front of them like this. Maybe Yuan also felt that God loved her so much that he always got it easily when she needed it. End of this chapter. The Brave Life of a Space Peasant Girl. Author, Lan Department. Chapter 837. Chapter 837 Mutated Creatures. After the two celebrated, Mujukan decided to return to the battlefield outside the territory. Waner, I went through the teleportation array myself. From here, no one will know that I came from the battlefield outside the territory before leaving, Mujukan said. Yuan nodded. There was no other way. Mujukan couldn't enter her space with the demon suppression tower, so she had to take the teleportation array. Mujukan left directly for the Baisha Divine Realm. After he left, Yuan took a look at the battlefield outside the realm from the gate. The new round of war had not yet begun, so she had new ideas. That is to find where those weird creatures come from, and then kill them all. From then on, there will no longer be foreign battlefields, and there will be a clear world in the cultivation world. Yuan controlled the realm gate, looking for the strange creature. Master, it's so strange, I can't find those weird things Zaya just said to Yuan. As long as the small world stores the breath, you can find what you are looking for based on the breath. It is a bit strange that I haven't found it for so long. Look for more. This situation was relatively rare, so Yuan could only tell Xiaoji to look for more. Okay, Master. In the process of searching, Yuan saw many abandoned planets. The planets were dead and silent, with no life at all. Yuan also went directly to these planets to take a look and found that these planets had traces of life activities in the past, indicating that these planets were life planets in the past. It was the same as the ruined star she had seen before, and it was also destroyed by the power released by the energy planet. Yuan continued to search, believing that those strange creatures were nearby. A month later, Yuan finally found a planet. This is a moving planet. Yuan can clearly see that the planet is moving in the universe, as if it is controlled by someone. In fact, this situation is not strange in the world of cultivation. The space on her body is actually a small planet in the universe. It just doesn't move regularly like this. Instead, the space moves with her wherever she goes. It's just that it's just undetectable. In this vast starry sky, the existence of space is like a movable planet. There are actually countless such planets in this universe. Yuan took a look at the planet. It was just an ordinary planet, and it was populated by ordinary mortals. Yuan searched for a long time and finally found the planet where those strange creatures live. This is also a moving planet. No wonder Xiaoji can't find it. Yuan was surprised when she looked at the species on this planet. There are actually buildings on this planet, and they are buildings where humans live. Many of them are still intact, and a few have been destroyed. The creatures that live above, especially those strange human-like creatures, all live in that building. That scene is similar to that of humans. Looking at other monsters and monster plants, they all live in the forest. Like the cultivation world, residences are divided into regions, but they can also communicate with each other. Seeing this, Yuan understood that this planet was originally inhabited by humans, and it should have been a world of cultivation. However, due to a disaster, all the creatures on the planet were eroded by a force, and then mutated into the strange creatures they are now. Looking at this planet, divine power is already very scarce, there is nothing that can allow them to survive, and there are not many other miscellaneous powers, so they will look for a planet that allows them to survive. The various cultivation circles have become their first choice. Yuan did not immediately destroy these strange creatures. Instead, she captured one and sent it into the space to see if these creatures still had human consciousness. This is a creature like an octopus. The octopus has a bare head, and countless tentacles grow on the head of this creature, and each tentacle has a pair of eyes. On the round head, there are 2 holes for breathing. Below the holes is a large mouth with sharp teeth. It also emits a harsh and terrifying scream, which is very scary to look at. There are 7 long legs below, and there is a shadow of a soul on each foot. Yuan placed it on the soul mountain, and then observed whether there were any changes in it. When a monk's body mutates, most of the time it's because his soul is eroded. Let him put it on the soul mountain. After leaving it there for a while, see if there are any changes. Can it return to its human form? Yuan did this partly because she was curious, but partly because she couldn't bear to kill them. After all, these might have been mutated by humans. After the mutant creature was frightened, it calmed down and looked around with the tentacles on its head. After seeing no one, it seemed to feel that the soul power here was very strong. It actually closed the eyes on all the tentacles and began to breathe in and out rhythmically. Yuan was delighted. This mutated creature should still have human consciousness. Yuan was afraid of disturbing it, so she did not use her spiritual consciousness to check its body. Let's wait a few days and check again to see if there are any changes in this mutated creature. Then she searched for some magic medicine in the space to see if she could prepare some medicine for it to take. However, while she was preparing the medicine, Zyajit told Yuan that all the creatures on the planet were flying towards the battlefield outside the territory. No matter their size or species, they can fly extremely fast in the starry sky. Their speed is extremely fast. If compared with her star step, it is about 5 times faster than her star step. This is still in the starry sky. There is a violent wind in the starry sky, which seriously affects the flight speed. This speed is simply incredible. It's no wonder that with this speed, they can search for other planets in the universe. So the war on the foreign battlefield broke out again. Yuan had to put down what she was doing and focus on the battlefield outside the territory. Just like before, she would take action when it was time to take action. The corpses of the mutated creatures were picked up and thrown directly into the red soil, allowing them to be transformed into divine power. The divine power in the red earth began to gradually recover, and Yuan noticed that the leaves of the green lotus were beginning to turn green. The original color was a bit dark and lifeless, but now it is full of vitality. At the same time, Yuan also paid attention to the mutated creature on Soul Mountain. There has been no change yet. Later she called the little snake over to look at it, so that she could pay full attention to the battlefield. This war is very fierce, and there are many mutant creatures flying in, not just the planet Yuan found. Yuan would not rush into the space when she was not sure whether these creatures could recover, so she tried her best to help. Mujukan has a monster-suppressing tower. He also collected many mutated creatures into the tower and let the mythical beasts in the tower kill them. The corpses were all kept by Yuan. He discovered that as long as he did not collect the corpses in time, the corpses would be devoured by the demon suppression tower, and after being devoured, they would be converted into divine power for the demon suppression tower. Master, the aura of that thing is getting stronger at this time, the little snake sent a message to Yuan. Hearing this, Yuan immediately teleported to Soul Mountain. Sure enough, the aura of the mutated creature was getting stronger, but its appearance remained unchanged. End of this chapter. The Brave Life of a Space Peasant Girl. Author, Lan Department. Chapter 838. Chapter 838 is like this. Yuan stared closely at the strange creature, and saw that its aura was rising and its body was growing. In half a stick of incense, its body was 10 feet tall. What made Yuan even more stunned was that the tentacles on the head of the strange creature were shrinking, as if they were retracting their heads. Slowly, a neck and a head grew. Master, do you think he will become a human being? Yuan shook her head. I didn't know, otherwise I wouldn't have gotten him in. After Yuan finished speaking, she immediately opened her divine eyes and looked into the newly formed head of the strange creature. There is a sea of consciousness inside, which is not very big. There is a soul in it. The soul is the same as the appearance. At this time, the soul is also changing accordingly. At the same time, Yuan crushed a pill that she had previously refined and sent it into the sea of consciousness of the strange creature. This is a kind of pill she prepared with soul medicine. It is not available in the pill prescription. Its function is to remove harmful substances from the soul. Those soul medicines were collected in the soul world before, and had not been used in the space for many years. All of those soul medicines became God-level soul medicines. The reason why strange creatures mutate is that their souls are eroded by other forces and mutate. Presumably this pill can eliminate them. Yuan's consciousness has been paying attention. Sure enough, after the divine soul absorbed the power of the medicine, some yellow gas was immediately discharged from the divine soul. After the yellow gas was exhausted, the divine soul changed faster and gradually transformed into a human form. Master, it's true that a human mutated into that monster, the little snake couldn't help but be surprised. In his inherited memory, such a situation had never happened before. When she saw this strange creature, Yuan thought it was a mutated human being, so she wasn't too surprised to see it transforming back into a human form. The human form that was restored at this time still remained about 1 foot tall, and did not return to the size of an ordinary person. This surprised Yuan. These people were the same ancient gods as Arthur, and the ancient gods were such giant figures. After the toxins in the man's soul were completely removed, he returned to his human form, an ancient god-man with the great perfection of the god-emperor. After the ancient god-man recovered, he immediately sat cross-legged on the soul mountain and seemed to be checking his body with his spiritual consciousness. After a while, the god-man took a long breath and showed a smile on his face. This ancient god-man looks ordinary, and his smile is not very good looking. After looking around on Soul Mountain, he raised his hands and said in a starry voice, "Chonglian thanks the god-man for your help." Chonglian is grateful. Yuan said, "How did you become like this? Why are you attacking other cultivation circles?" Zhonglian heard a goddess asking her. He was stunned for a moment and said, "Did the goddess save me?" "Yes, please answer my question." Yuan only wanted to know that the energy ball was damaged by the ancient gods fighting in the starry sky. She wanted to know if it was these people. If it was, she would definitely not save other people. Judging from the speed at which they were flying in the starry sky and their bodies that were not afraid of strong winds, Yuan guessed that it was people from this planet who did it. Zhonglian frowned, but still explained why they became like this and why they attacked other cultivators. It turns out that the interstellar war that year was really caused by the people on their planet. The reason was the war between two families competing for the position of Lord God. There are not all ancient gods on their planet, there are also people with the same body shape as Yuan. That's why in that war, there were two types of people with different body shapes. The battlefield was extremely brutal, and several people blew themselves up. The power of self-destruction is so powerful that it affects the energy ball. There is a protective shield on the outside of the energy ball, which cannot be broken through by ordinary impact force. However, it was the self-destruction of several god emperors. The shock wave broke through the protective shield of the energy ball and damaged the energy ball. The energy ball was damaged, and a large amount of inexplicable energy poured out, instantly wiping the gods and men present who were not affected by the self-destruction into nothing, and countless nearby planets were destroyed as a result. Although their planet survived, its soul was eroded by unknown energy, and everything on the planet mutated. Not only their planet, but also other planets are like their planet, everything on the planet mutates. After mutation, they can maintain the most basic consciousness. The planet was already destroyed, and the power for their survival was scarce and quickly exhausted. So they searched for other planets in the stars, hoping to find a planet that allowed them to survive. During a war, a mutated person accidentally devoured the opponent's divine body. After devouring that person, not only did his strength double, but his soul became somewhat clearer. From then on, they started wars at any time. Everyone hopes that after devouring the monk's divine body, they can recover. Now this planet is the planet they found, and they have devoured everything that can be devoured on it. After Yuan heard this, she was completely angered by this reconnection. It turned out that the energy ball was damaged in this way, and the battlefield outside the territory was also formed in this way. This is like a joke. In order to compete for the position of the main god, they destroyed the energy that people relied on for survival. Just to restore themselves, they attacked other planets and then ate them alive. Yuan wished she could strike Chonglian to death with one strike. They didn't know how many planets they had harmed. No wonder there were buildings inhabited by humans on the planet when they found them. They thought they belonged to them and thought they were also victims. Turns out they weren't. It is true that they are victims, but they are a group of harmful people. Beating Yuan to death will not make them recover. Then why didn't the people on your planet run at that time? You were so fast and not afraid of the high wind, Yuan asked Chonglian in confusion. Could it be that you didn't know how to run even though you were watching your body mutate? Or do you mean they couldn't run away at all? Zhonglian, why don't you want to run? But not everyone can walk on flat ground in the starry sky. How can those with low strength run? Those with strong strength can't let go of those with low strength, so they can only watch themselves mutate. There are also some of them escaped, but I don't know whether they escaped or not. Yuan estimated that most of the people did not run away because they thought they could not escape. Why would they attack other planets if they were so concerned about love and justice? Yuan threw Chonglian into prison and imprisoned him. She would never give him any advantage. It was impossible to let him out. After that, Yuan asked Xiaojie to face the battlefield, and she collected a large number of mutated people and creatures into the Black Earth. Anyway, she took in all she could. Then use the star formation to trap them. When they have almost enough numbers, they use the star formation to strangle them. After they are all dead, they are thrown into the Red Earth. A large number of mutated creatures suddenly disappeared on the battlefield. The monks shouted wildly, wondering which was using the magic. After being grateful, they attacked the mutated creatures that Yuan had not yet received and vented their emotions on those mutated creatures. Superior. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Brave Life of a Space Peasant Girl. Author, Lan Department. Chapter 839. Chapter 839, Creation of Green Lotus. How many years has it been? I have been guarding the unexpected battlefield for so many years, and many people have been sacrificed. They were all caused by these weird-looking things, and they were devoured by them even after they died. In a short time, many mutated creatures were killed. Seeing this, some mutated creatures began to escape, but wherever they could escape, they were all robbed by Yuan. Even when Yuan was collecting these mutated creatures, Mujukan didn't stop. When he saw a large number of mutated creatures disappearing, he knew it was Yuan's doing. His demon-suppressing tower has 9 floors. Each floor can hold millions of mutated creatures, and he also collected them fiercely. There were too many mutated creatures. No matter how Yuan and Mujukan tried to contain them, a large number of creatures escaped. After all, the monks killed only a few. But it also ended the war. The monks cheered. This was a victory. This was the first victory in so many years. Every time it broke out before, I didn't know how many decorations had to be sacrificed to end the war. Of course they all know that the war ended only after feeding those weird creatures. This time was different. It was the first time that they watched the strange creatures flee in a hurry, and their mood was different. Yuan did not look at the cheers of the monks outside. She was very busy in the space. After killing all the mutated creatures, she also received countless space rings. After those monks mutated, their space rings were still preserved, but they all fell down after being strangled by the formation, and Yuan put them away. This is a considerable fortune. She threw them all to the little snakes and them to sort them out. After the red earth swallowed up those corpses, the divine power was restored. As soon as the divine power was restored, good fortune Green Lotus began to absorb a large amount of divine power. The divine power in the red earth returned to half of its previous value, which made Yuan dumbfounded. Good fortune Green Lotus still knew how to keep some. But with such a big appetite, Yuan is going to cry. If she eats like this, when will she be able to fatten her up? It's not easy to fatten it up. After the things in Yuan's space were finished, she went to Mujukan's place to have a look. Why did Waner collect so much this time? Did she find something? Yuan asked Mujukan as soon as she arrived. Yuan nodded and told Mujukan everything he got from Chonglian. So that's it, We really can't keep any of them. Mujukin also looked like he was constipated after hearing this. It turned out that the legendary interstellar war was like this. When he came to the battlefield outside the territory, he heard a lot about the interstellar war, saying that it was a war caused by the grudges between ancient gods and monks. It turned out to be like this. By the way, I've collected a lot, Wanner, do you want more? If Wanner didn't want him, the demon suppressing tower would swallow it up directly. You have to, of course you have to, Kei-Fa Qinglian is a foodie. Yuan also talked about the creation of Qinglian to absorb divine power. Mujukin couldn't laugh or cry after hearing this. From now on, they both have to serve it. The energy planet was damaged, and the green lotus of creation should have been cultivated earlier. This universe has been riddled with holes, and it is estimated that it will not exist for much longer. Mujukin sighed. Yuan nodded, yes, it was all good things done by those ancient gods and men, which destroyed this galaxy. We can only use the remaining value of the mutated creatures to support the Qinglian of creation. Mujukin gave the ones he collected to Yuan, and Yuan also used the killing array to strangle them all and then threw them into the red earth. Wanner, what are you going to do next? I want to see the energy planet up close. Do you plan to go back or follow me? By the way, have you seen Ming Ao and his son here? Ming Ao and his son haven't settled their accounts with them yet, so don't die so soon. Mujukin smiled and pinched Yuan's face. His Wanner was really a vengeful person. He had forgotten Ming Ao and Tian Yat. I can't go with you now. Although the war is over, I don't know if we will be able to go with you in the future. Is it possible that the monks on the battlefield will not retreat for the time being, and will stay for a while after repairs? As for Ming Ao and his son Wanner, I have completely forgotten them. I haven't seen them since I've been here for so long. Don't worry, even if you see them, you won't mess with them. After all, both of them have higher cultivation than me. Yuan glared at him. How could he forget such an important thing? Well, let me also remind you that those two people are bound to retaliate against you. I am afraid that they will see you doing dirty tricks behind your back. Don't worry, Wanner, your husband is not a fool, and you are worried that they are doing something behind his back. Besides, we are not in the same camp. They are in the Tiansha camp and I am in the Tongxian camp, so it is difficult to meet him. The monks transported from the battlefield outside the territory this time are not in the tens of millions but in the millions. They are found in all cultivation circles. You cannot find them unless you deliberately look for them. In the camp, it is forbidden to use spiritual consciousness to check other people's homes between camps. Yuan nodded and lay in Mujukin's arms. After the two were tender for a while, she reluctantly left. After Yuan returned to the space, she went to the red earth and took a look at the good fortune green lotus. After the good fortune green lotus absorbed several waves of divine power, there were obviously small lotus seeds sprouting out of the lotus seeds in the middle. Yuan was filled with joy when she saw it, but the good fortune green lotus did not. Absorbing so much divine power for nothing. Yuan gently caressed the leaves of the creation green lotus. The leaves were green and had a delicate fragrance, which smelled very good. Chasing Qinglian rubbed her face with a leaf in a very humane manner, and she thought that creation Qinglian was teasing her. When will you mature? Yuan said to herself, lighting the leaves of the creation green lotus. Have no idea. Suddenly, a childish girl's voice sounded in Yuan's sea of consciousness. Are you talking to creation Qinglian? Yuan was surprised. Creation Qinglian really gave birth to spiritual wisdom. Yes, you are my master. Of course I can talk to you. I was too weak before, but now I have recovered a bit and can talk. Yuan Zihei's childlike voice sounded again. Oh, we don't have a contract, how can we call me master? You raise me, aren't you my master? Oh, so it's so easy to be the master of creation Qinglian? Then I am really your master, Xiaolian. Where did you grow up before? Yuan asked, and she took the initiative to name creation Qinglian. It's on the energy planet, does the master know? Of course I know, the energy planet has been damaged, do you know? What? It's damaged? How is that possible? Creation Qinglian was horrified. Why do you think it's impossible? The master doesn't know why the energy planet was damaged. Someone must have damaged the world-destroying Green Lotus. If so, it would be terrible. The world-destroying Green Lotus, Yuan was confused, and another world-destroying Green Lotus appeared. Master, are there many planets destroyed and many mutated creatures outside? Creation Qinglian asked eagerly. End of this chapter. The Brave Life of a Space Peasant Girl. Author, Lan Department. Chapter 840. Chapter 840. The Destroying Qinglian. Yes, Yuan replied casually and carefully. Ah, oops, master, things are terrible. Creation Qinglian shook her body anxiously. Yuan rolled her eyes at it and said calmly, what's so bad? Is the end of the world coming? Master, how do you know? Creation Qinglian asked in surprise. It seemed that Yuan did not take such a big matter to heart. What's so hard to guess about this? You are the creation. If Qinglian destroys the world, wouldn't it mean destroying the world? Is there anything to be surprised about? Then why isn't the master anxious? Once the energy planet is destroyed, all the planets and creatures in this interstellar, including the monks, will be destroyed. When the time comes, the master will also be destroyed. Aren't you afraid? Yuan sighed and touched the green lotus of creation. You are so stupid. You don't even look at where you are. Everyone is dead and destroyed. I, your master, will be alive and well. Where is this? Creation Qinglian asked blankly. Isn't this on a planet? So where is it? Yuan was too lazy to explain its confusion and asked it. On the energy planet, there are green lotus for creation, green lotus for destruction of the world, and green lotus for the purification of the world. What other lotuses are there? There is also chaos green lotus. Are there no more lotuses? Yes, but those lotuses are not as good as our four great green lotuses. The creation green lotus did not wait for Yuan to ask it. It automatically said, Master, the chaos green lotus is also called the creation green lotus. It is a lotus that grew in the chaos when the heaven and the earth were not opened. It also gave birth to me and two other species. Green lotus, purifying green lotus and world-destroying green lotus, it can be said that we are pregnant and mature at the same time. When the chaos lotus matures, it turns into an energy ball and gives birth to a star, and many planets are born around it at the same time. When the stars are successful, I will create all things and form various laws of heaven and earth. After that comes the matter of the purifying green lotus, which purifies the energy that is not conducive to all things and transforms it into the energy that all things need. The master also knows that there are green lotuses that nurture all things, and there are also green lotuses that destroy all things. Although our three green lotuses have exhausted their own energy, our bodies are still there, so we use the remaining power of our bodies to destroy the world. Qinglian is sealed on the energy planet. As long as the seal is not broken, the star will exist forever. If it is destroyed, the star will be destroyed. After listening to what creation Qinglian Luoliba said, Yuan understood what it meant. She said, then you mean that if you mature, you can recreate all things. Why were you making all the fuss before? The creation green lotus shook its lotus body and looked down upon Yuan. The various harmful forces released by the world-destroying green lotus are all over the stars. If the world-purifying green lotus still exists, it can still purify the world, and the stars will be preserved, but it was just like me at that time, purifying the entire interstellar world with its lotus seeds. Unless you find the pure world green lotus and cultivate it to maturity, it and I can save this interstellar world. If it cannot be found, this star will last at most 100 million years before being completely destroyed. 100 million years, Is that still early? Are you still worried that your master cannot be found? My next stop is to find the energy planet, and by the way find the pure world green lotus. Yuan still remembers that the turbot still needs the purifying green lotus to purify it. Over the years, whenever she has time, she will go to see it and ask 10,000 Buddhas to follow him to Ad Gong. Master, hurry up. Jingxi Qinglian and I mature very slowly. It will take at least 100 million years to mature. If we go faster, Master will still have time. Yuan rolled her eyes at it. Didn't you start to produce lotus seeds? It will take so long to mature, so how much divine power do you have to swallow? I am not at a loss to support you too. She might as well just raise Kwa Qinglian, and the space for her promotion in the future will be the same. What's the loss? If the master saves the entire star, the master's virtue is immeasurable. Then you will gain eternal life and never die. If you die, you will be resurrected soon. Hey, what's the benefit, master? Am I not a weakling who can't be beaten to death? Yuanil is happy. Is there any other benefit? Then she would consider raising 2 foodies. Yuan gets a headache just thinking about the green lotus of creation absorbing so much divine power at once and the pure green lotus of the world. Where can she get so much divine power to support them? There are not many useful planets in the interstellar world, and there are not many planets with divine power. You can't draw people's divine veins. It's really a headache. Master, pure world green lotus can absorb any energy, and it is easier to feed than me. Creation green lotus looked at Yuan's frowning face and said immediately. So? Well, that's it? Master, I feel the breath of the pure world green lotus here. The pure world green lotus has the power to swallow all things, and then transform it into pure power. Creation green lotus said again. Real. It's absolutely true, but it's just breath, not its true nature. Yuan was thinking after hearing this. The Star Emperor said that the star ring was swallowed or turned into the space it is now after being swallowed. She was wondering, did that thing contain part of the purifying green lotus? Otherwise, how could space have the swallowing function? And it can swallow all the power just like the creation Qinglian said. I think so. Whether it is true or not, it is beneficial and harmless to her space. As long as there are no monsters in the space, she is relieved. Now that she knew the whole truth of the matter, Yuan decided to set off. Before departure, Yuan went to Mujukan to meet him and told him everything that creation Qinglian said. Mujukan, there is no need to deliberately look for Wan'er. Your own safety is important. According to what creation Qinglian said, the purifying green lotus should have been destroyed at the moment when the seal of the world destroying Qinglian was destroyed. It fell to all planes. Or in the starry sky, after being obtained by others, it is refined into your space and my demon suppression tower. Don't you think this is also the case with my demon suppression tower, so Wan'er doesn't have to deliberately let it take its course? Yuan nodded. I understand, just think of it as a trip. By the way, how long will you stay here? In fact, she really hoped that Mujukan could go with her. I don't know, I should stay here for a short time, probably about 100 years. For a man of God, 100 years is a matter of taking a nap. Okay, anyway, I will come back to see you from time to time. Mujukan smiled and kissed her on the lips. 10 days later, Yuan came to a depleted planet. She saw something flashing past on the opposite side of the world gate, so she came here to take a look to see what it was. A depleted planet usually has nothing to breathe. Yuan was very curious. She turned on her divine eyes and scanned the useless star but couldn't find it. Could it be that I'm dazzled? Yuan glanced again in disbelief. Scanning again found nothing, so Yuan prepared to duck into the space. End of this chapter.